Welcome to the Inspiring Humans podcast. We are so happy to have you listening. My name is Stephanie Woolard, and this podcast is a platform to showcase the incredible human spirit. On this podcast, I'll be interviewing people from all over the world and all walks of life who will be sharing with us their personal dreams and their dreams for the future. I believe that through coming together and creating community, incredible things are possible. In fact, anything is possible. And I hope that this podcast is a launch pad for creating the new world that we want to see, that will have humanity free, thriving, and living in their full self-expression. So it's such a pleasure this morning to be on the podcast with Jenn Donovan. Jenn is an amazing woman, such a vibrant, energetic person. That's my experience of you, Jenn. Like every time I've chatted to you, just have so much energy and positive energy, which the world needs more of today. So I just want to really honor you for that. And, Jenn's here today to share with us some of her expertise and magic around community building, social media and marketing. So Jenn is, practicing what she preaches, and she's speaking from experience. She's created a very successful Facebook group called Buy From a Bush Business, if that's correct. Yeah, Buy From a Bush Business, that has 333,000 members, which is incredible. And I think a lot of us start things on social media and start little groups and communities, but very little people know how to actually grow one to a great size and all that engagement stuff and make people feel like they're really part of a community, especially online. So I'm looking forward to delving into a bit of that today, Jenn, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Steph. I'm a bit excited to chat with you. It's been too long between chats between us, but I look forward to chatting all about community.
Amazing. So can you just give us a bit of a backstory of how you got into social media and marketing and what that experience has been like for you and your business?
Yeah, thank you. So I suppose my journey started off with social media and marketing as a retailer. So I actually started my career in law, and I did that for about 17 years or so. And as my story goes, my best friend and I had way too much wine to drink one night, and we decided to throw in our corporate jobs and buy a shop. So that's what we did. Within about 4 weeks, I think we had ourselves a shop. We bought a rundown business, and we just wanted to play shop. Basically, we were sick of being responsible to other people and just wanted to be our own bosses. But it wasn't probably far into that journey that we realized that we could actually make a business out of this. This could actually be a profit generating business, not just something fun to do. And that's probably where I started to think about, well, what's social media, what's marketing, how does that work? And I went down a really big rabbit hole and found that I was really passionate about marketing and social media. This is probably going back a good maybe 10 years now. So social media did look a lot different back then. Like I can remember, putting up a post on Facebook saying, oh, we've got 20% off tomorrow, come in. It's, a bit of a pop-up sale, and people came in. Like you did that now, you'd probably get crickets because, the algorithm just doesn't work like that, where it shows it to everybody who likes and loves you and follows you. So yeah, like the algorithm, of course, I don't think I'd even heard of the word algorithm back when I started on social media. And just from there, it really grew when I sold that shop. So we had it for 7 years, and our plan was always 7 years. I'm very much someone who starts with the end in mind. So when we bought it, we knew this wasn't just going to be us forever. We knew it had a time limit. We put 7 years on it, and we did that. And when I finished that, I started to want to teach other retailers and other small business owners what marketing was, how it could really help them grow their business, how to strategically use social media, email marketing, everything like that. And it's just grown from there. I think I've been doing this now for about 5 years.
Unreal. And so I'm particularly interested in the Buy From a Bush business and how, because you hear about like a lot of groups starting these days and some take off, some don't, the engagement. And obviously there was a real purpose and a real need behind that when you started it. Can you talk us through the process of, how did you start that, and what were the different phases of its growth and, the challenges and everything that came with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure we've got time for all the challenges that come with it, but anyway, we'll go into a few of them. But I just want to say off the mark, I have 2 Facebook groups. One has about 1,000 people in it, and it's just as beautiful and great of a community as the one that has 336,000 in it. So I think Black Front Bush Business came basically from a need that I could see. So I live in rural Australia. I live in the Riverina of New South Wales. Prior to a pandemic, I used to do a lot of traveling between Bendigo and Griffith, talking to small business owners, doing workshops and things like that. And this particular week, I had been to Narrandera, Hay, Griffith, and Leeton. And everybody, it was October, it was the end of October, and everyone was really sad. Christmas was coming, but when you live in a rural area, what you know is if farmers don't have money, towns don't have money. And we were in a chronic drought, a very prolonged drought, and no one was excited about the Christmas trade because they just knew the money wasn't in the community. And on my way home from Hay, now if anyone knows where Hay is compared to where I am, it's just flat plains. There's nothing to look at whatsoever. So on my way home, I guess I had a lot of thinking time, and I thought, imagine if I could start a Facebook group where everyone could kind of post, you know, their sales. I could invite my friends, they could invite their friends, I could invite my clients, and they just might get a few sales that they're not relying on the foot traffic. At that particular time, Buy from the Bush was a trending hashtag on Instagram. But what I know is a lot of people of a particular demographic in rural Australia, so maybe 40 plus, maybe, you know, a little bit older than that, they don't get Instagram. They, you know, they probably do now, but back 2 years ago, you know, they didn't they knew Facebook, they used Facebook. So it was kind of all about making things simpler. My podcast is called Small Business Made Simple. I'm all about trying to simplify business for small business owners. And I think the Facebook group did that. Everyone knew how to use it. Everyone knew how to group work. And also the algorithm loves groups. So, you post on a page, you barely get anything. You post in a group, you get a lot more engagement. So I just came home and I started the group. I think it's nearly coming up 2 years. I think October 31st was when I started it in 2019. And like I said, I invited my friends, I invited my clients, and, sales started to happen. And I remember in the early days, it's kind of like, oh, wow, 1,000 members. This is amazing. 5,000 members. Woohoo. 10,000 members. And soon it was like 110,000 members. It's okay. Because as the group grew, so did the issues within the group. And I have to say, probably around the 110 mark was a real tipping point. So it started at the end of October. I'd got to 110,000 by Christmas. I think it was early December. So it grew quite quickly, but I noticed a real shift in what was happening. So prior to that, I really didn't do too much in the group other than monitor a few things. It was a safe space. Everyone was happy. Everyone posted great things. But about the 110 mark, I started to get people in there who wanted to use it as a political stance or, to perhaps, I don't know, get money off people when they really didn't have products to sell. There was some overseas people posting and things like that. So that's when I really had to rein it back. And to this day, I pretty much approve every post. There are some VIP members who get pre-approval as long as they follow the rules. But yeah, to this day, I'm sort of approving anywhere between 300 and 500 posts a day. So it's a really big volunteer job.
Yeah, that's amazing, because you can have the rules and criteria up in the group, but not everyone kind of reads them. So that would have been a full-time job, kind of tracking it at that stage when you were getting those posts to remove, because I can imagine the challenge that would be, because people in the group, if they see it steering towards that direction, they won't, the credibility will be lost as well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I guess I've always tried to make it a safe space. I've been probably rather harsh if people, get on there and maybe they decide to write a bad comment or bring down a small business owner or something like that. And so I'm pretty harsh. I do kick people out pretty quickly because we just don't, I want it to be a safe space where people feel safe to, post. And also the community aspect. There is so much community in there where people are cheering each other on, or, sharing other people's posts into their own Facebooks and things like that to really help with sales. So that was pretty important to me, that it stayed a safe space and, kept its values, which was helping small business owners from rural and regional Australia.
So just a very practical question: if there's up to 500 posts a day, how do they kind of, how do people get seen if they're posting with their products?
Yeah, I guess, that is the challenge. Having a big group is awesome, but does come with a brand new set of challenges in that it is so busy. So, I guess it's a matter of having a great photo that stands out, a great caption that captures people's attention straight away. There's all sorts of little things that you can do to be seen a little bit more. But yeah, it is tough. And some people don't get seen, and therefore that's, I guess, consistency there becomes the key, being consistently posting maybe once a day, maybe once every second day type of thing, and changing things up. I get messages from people saying, this post worked really well for me a month ago, but now it's not getting any traction. It's like, well, because it's exactly the same post. So people are like, I've seen this, scroll by. We're very fickle, us humans. We're kind of like, oh, no, don't need that, and just keep scrolling by type of thing. So you've really got to, catch people's attention, in the microseconds that you have them.
Amazing. So give us a bit of a snapshot of your offerings and your passion around social media and marketing. What sort of things do you help people with? What are the trends at the moment? Because I imagine it would have changed so much, as you said before, over the past few years. Social media is always changing, and people probably need different support around different things for their business. So can you just share a bit of your experience of some of the common challenges and what your offerings are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that is a real challenge for people is getting seen, like literally being seen. I suppose my whole business premise is built around making marketing a priority. So if you've ever seen me talk, if you ever, come to a workshop, you'll hear me say it often: make marketing a priority. It can't be a sometimes activity. If you want to grow, you've got to learn to market, because more people need to know about you. So that's pretty much the essence of what I'm teaching. But we're finding real trends at the moment is, producing great content. And by great content, I mean like shareable content. So people have to want to, share it with their friends or their family or another business owner or something like that. So it's something that really resonates with them, or they want to save it for later. It's kind of like, oh, that's really good. I haven't got time to implement that right now, but I'm going to save it for later. The other thing that's working really well on social media, which I get a lot of pushback on, is showing up. Like, people connect with other people. People don't connect with logos and colors and things like that. They don't really connect with products. They want to know the human beings behind a business. And that is pretty much, that whole human to human marketing. I talk a lot about that. And, people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. If they don't know who you are, then they can't like you, they can't trust you, and they can't know you. So I'm very much for, showing up, basically, showing your face, showing your voice, making sure that you are the front and center to your own social media. And I often refer back to, take social media away and pretend we all have bricks and mortar. The customer had to walk through the door. They had to see a human being. They had to, talk to a human being, because that's the way you developed, great relationships with your customers. And I think social media has made it so easy for us to hide behind our products, to hide behind our logos. And, I think if you want to grow and stand out from a very busy marketplace these days, the one thing that no one else can do is be you. So I'm very much about, that human to human marketing that's working so well at the moment. And conversations and community, above, competition is also, what's really working, like people collaborating with each other. sharing resources with each other. I know when I had my retail store, some of my most profitable days were when I did events with other business owners. They weren't my direct competition, but they had the same customers as me. And it's no different on social media.
Yeah, amazing. And there's been, I've noticed, and you probably have too, there's been a lot of kind of different types of posts of people posting photos of themselves in different places, almost like they, you know, get a photographer to take branding shots of them, but post photos of them and share of themselves, or, you know, share the life that they're living, the life that they're creating. Often longer posts. Have you seen that? More of that?
Certainly on Instagram, there's a lot of longer posts. I think it really just depends on your audience and what your audience is feeling that day. Some days I'm all in for a long post and love reading them. Other days it's kind of like, I don't have time for that. Like, you know, I'm not in the mood to be reading long posts. So I think, definitely mixing it up, long posts and short posts and things like that, depending on what you've got to say, of course. And of course, you know, I would be very remiss not to talk about video. Like, video has been king since social media came to our tables. Basically, I remember Mark Zuckerberg saying in, I think it was 2018, that by 2020 85% of the platform would be video. Clearly that has not happened. He forgot that humans don't like being on video, but I still think, you know, that is definitely where he's pushing the platforms to go. He wants more video, and if you turn up live or turn up on a video, you are more likely to get more traction than if you don't do that.
Amazing. And you would have come across a lot of, you know, community groups and different models of building that sense of community online, which, you know, can be a lot harder than in person, especially you being from a country town. That sense of community, I've always at heart, I think I'm a country girl. I'm just kind of holding that vision in future to live in a place where you really feel that sense of community, because I'm out in the burbs here in Melbourne. But like, that fascinates me, that curation of community, both online and offline. I'd love to just hear some of your experience, you know, of that offline and online.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to community, it is all about the community, but it still needs a leader. So I think, especially online. So I think if you've got a Facebook group and, you know, you've built it to build a community of like-minded people, no matter what it is that you're selling or doing, if they don't have a leader leading them, I think that's where one of the pitfalls come, that people just, you know, disengage. But if there's a leader there, if there's someone prompting them often to, you know, have discussions or connect with each other, or, you know, tell us what your offering is, I think that really empowers other people to go, this is a good community because they're giving, they're asking, everybody's sharing. But I think a lot of business owners, not really business owners, well, sometimes they are, but a lot of people who set up Facebook groups think the group will, evolve all by itself, and they forget to be the leader of that group. So I think that's one thing that really needs to be done online. Even though you want to create community, it still does need that person front and center, whether that's you or a VA you're paying to, you know, be that leader as well, but it still does need that. And I guess offline, I just love being part of communities, because just the sharing of ideas and sharing of resources, and knowing that when the chips are down, that people will be there for you. I just, I know myself, I've seen many instances where, you know, a friend or a friend of a friend has had an accident, or perhaps they've had a bad diagnosis with something, and the community are like, you know, leaving food on their doorstep, or, you know, baking things for school lunches so they don't have to worry about school lunches, or mowing their lawns and things like that. Like, it really warms my heart to see those things. And it's probably the one thing I love about social media is, you know, being able to share those stories and see those stories about a community that comes together. I've got an amazing community where I live. And I think it just sparkles. I just love it.
It's so nice to hear, you know, especially in these times. And I think people are creating new ways to form community, and with what's to come. I mean, who knows what's to come, but I think people during this time have been thinking deeply about how they want to live, and that sense of community that we as humans all crave, and that sense of belonging, I think, is very important for people. And even like the barter system, back in the day where it wasn't monetary, it was swapping things. I think that sort of thing, you can get very creative when there's a group of people around you that you trust, and that you all have value to offer each other and to pull together, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a story just going back a couple of years now. And one of my friends actually lived in Melbourne, lived in the suburbs, clearly up in the hill type suburbs, because there was a bit of a fire that was happening. And her husband and children were at the movies at the time and didn't know what was going on. And so, she had to evacuate the house by herself. And she's walking down the street and her neighbors are driving past her. Not one person stopped to pick her up or say, are you okay? Or where do you need to go? That, for me, coming from the country, is just so unbelievable. I cannot even think that would happen in my country town, or in a lot of country towns, or a lot of rural communities. There'd be 10 cars stopping. I go for a walk on my road and people stop and ask if I'm okay. It's like, yeah, I'm just exercising. It's okay. So there's things like that. But I think the one good thing that has come out of the pandemic is that real sense of community, no matter where you live. I think there has been a real sense of supporting the community that you live in, and really looking at, where we're spending our money, where we're spending our time, who we're saying hello to, things like that. I think it's been a really great instance that's happened.
Yeah, that just reminded me of moving into Richmond a few years ago in an apartment block, and just I didn't know anyone there, and there are a few instances that came through from the body corporate saying someone had tried to enter in the car park and that sort of thing, to be aware of things. And immediately when I moved in there, I knocked on every door on my level just to meet everybody and introduce myself, and that ended up being a WhatsApp group for our level 7, and it felt so much safer knowing who was staying in the other units around you. And it did become a little community. We used to have dinner every couple of weeks, and just knowing that craving to know your neighbours and knowing who's around you.
But they didn't think you were weird when you did that?
I did. I did. But then, hopefully I proved to them that I wasn't, too weird. But the world needs more weird people, I think.
It does. More community orientated weird people. Absolutely.
Yeah. So amazing. So in terms of, you work with a lot of small businesses, and that can be such a grind at the beginning. You can be posting things on social media going, is anyone actually seeing this sometimes, because you don't know, and you can put so much effort into posting things. How do you what are the 101 when you're starting a business or trying to get traction? How do you guide people through that process? And even just moral support and encouragement, because it can take a while to take off.
Yeah, it can. And I suppose not having comparisonitis, looking at other people and go, oh, they're doing it so much better than me, but maybe they've been doing it longer than you. I have a client at the moment, or a past client, so they've been a client in the past, and now they're just a friend. And I often get emails from her or messages from her going, I did this today and it worked. You told me it would. You just told me I had to be patient. And I'm like, yes, I did. It's little stories like that. It is a long game. Social media, it's a little bit different if you're perhaps a retailer and you have a product that people love. Sales and traction can come a lot quicker because you actually have something tangible for people to buy. In my case, as a social media coach and a marketing mentor, it's a slower burn. I've got to build that community. I've really got to build that trust. I've got to show people that I am an expert. I know what they're feeling. I know how I can help them. And yeah, it is a slower burn. And I would say that Yeah, well, for me, I think there's one of me for every corner of every street in Australia. It's really a very busy marketplace that I live in, but I don't need to talk to everybody. I just need to talk to people who are resonating with my messaging, who think that I could solve their problems that they're having around their marketing, around their social media, around their business. Because again, like attracts like. If people like me, if people like the way I explain things, if people like the way I do business, then they're more likely to follow me as opposed to another marketing and social media coach who might be just as brilliant or maybe even more brilliant, but they're resonating with me and my messaging. So I think it's there's probably three things when you're starting off in business. Knowing who your who is, so knowing who your ideal client is so super important, and targeting them. Know where they hang out. Where can you get to these people? Where do they actually hang out that they can be marketed to? And know what you want to be famous for. What do you, and maybe not Kardashian famous, but famous. If someone thinks social media or marketing, I want them to think Jenn Donovan. I don't want to be famous for everything, but I really want to be known for that. So they're the really huge three questions that need to be answered when you're starting out, especially the who is your who and where do they hang out? Because a lot of people will sort of say, for instance, I come across people that will say, I'm not on Instagram, I don't get it. But when we do, a bit of a profile of who their ideal client is, they're on Instagram. And it's just like, well, it's not actually about you and what you like and what you don't like. It's actually about the customer, and keeping that front and center, I think, will really help you understand your target market a little bit more. I read websites and there's too many I's and we's on there. It's like, it's not about you. It's about your client, and you've got to talk in their language to them to make them go, I need that product. I need that service. I need that person.
Yeah, thanks. It's a great way to explain it. And there is, ample people for every single person. And it's, there's a tribe out there for all of us, and they're our ideal customers, and we're their ideal person to work with. So the social media and marketing, what's the difference between social media and marketing? I think, marketing, can you go into that a little bit? Because they are different.
Yeah, they are slightly different. Yeah. So my mentor always taught me that marketing is everything. And that's something I carry on into my business and teach my clients and my community, because the way you answer the phone is marketing. The way you comment back to someone on social media is marketing. Unfortunately, sometimes for some of us, even the way we turn up in supermarkets is marketing. If you live in a rural area, you're rarely off. You're off when you're at home and all your devices are shut down. But I have people pull me up in the supermarket and say, now, I saw this on social media. Can you tell me what this means? Or, how do I do an ad? Or, people find the most peculiar places to ask you questions, and I'm on. I can't say to them, no, this is outside business hours, call me later, because that isn't good for my business. We are always marketing, and if you think you're not in the business of marketing, then you are. So you've got to learn to market yourself. So social media is a tactic that belongs under the marketing umbrella, just like email marketing is a tactic that belongs under the marketing umbrella. So, and I guess how you use them is not necessarily different, in that you still need to know who your who is, where they hang out, what you want to be famous for. But one's a tactic, and one's an overarching strategy.
Awesome. Yeah. And so what's your future vision with, I know that you're doing a lot of public speaking in a podcast, and what's your future vision, and what's the ultimate legacy that you want to leave?
Yeah, so I guess we've talked about Buy from a Bush business. So what came of that was an online marketplace platform called Spend With Us. So all the W, spendwithus.com.au. So that's like the Amazon, but only for rural and regional small businesses that we are building. So that's my little, I guess, support network that I'm looking to build with Laura and Sarah, my business partners in that particular business, to really help put more and more rural and regional small businesses on the map. I want to be a household name with spendwithus.com.au. We want everybody to know where we are, really how Australians are supporting small businesses, especially rural and regional ones who have been through just so much, is changing. We no longer just think we'll donate to a charity. We're actually realizing if we spend the money with that person, then we know that it's going to help them. So my platforms are a way of me doing that. So I guess, the goal is to become a household name with that one. And it's my other business, which is Social Media and Marketing Australia. Like you said, I love speaking. I love the one-to-many. I just wanted to, spread my message about making marketing a priority far and wide, because I think it's the one thing I can do that will change how people run their businesses and the opportunities that will be out there for them if only they would make marketing a priority in their business. And then, of course, teach them a little bit about marketing and social media as we go along. So as the world opens back up, I just like more opportunities to get in front of more people to talk about those messaging. That would be my number one thing that I would really like to do.
Amazing. Like I hear social media and marketing and see all that you do, but actually what it really is it's helping people reach their potential and being able to express their gifts out into the world, and how to do that in a way that resonates with other people. And that's so super important, especially, out in your areas where it can be a bit more challenging. So I just love what you do, Jen. I think it's amazing. And just creating platforms for people to showcase what they're doing, can mean whether if someone, does a painting and puts it out there and gets a nice comment, that can mean the difference between whether they follow that path. And, that little bit of encouragement, you never know when that just totally hits a spot for someone and is the encouragement they need to continue. So I think it's amazing what you've created and how you're supporting people.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. And, we all hear the statistic bantered around of 4 out of 5 small businesses fail in the first 5 years. Like that's, and I guess out of that 4 out of 5, 95% of them are women, so all these businesses are failing. And I guess, that's not even a COVID statistic. That's a pre-COVID statistic. But for me, I kind of flip that on its head a little bit in that, they're not failing. We never fail at anything. We learn. We either win or we learn. And they're definitely not failing, but they're burning out. And they're burning out because they can't get enough customers to come back often enough to buy enough products to make being in business profitable. So they go and get a job. So the gap that sits in between there is the marketing. So that's kind of like my way of trying to shift this statistic is, if only you told more people about how great you are and how great your products are and how you can help them, then perhaps, the burnout wouldn't happen.
And the why that they're doing it, because often people are passionate about their product. That's why they're doing it, or they've got a personal story behind it. And you mentioned before collaboration, and I just think, everyone can build their own personal business in silos, but collaboration is such a powerful way to amplify their impact or amplify their message or their products. And it's, I love the model of businesses supporting each other where it makes sense and referring to each other and that sort of thing. Just, as one last question I'd love to ask you, because you've probably seen a lot of different businesses and the way that they operate. Have you seen successful models of that working?
Yeah, like I guess my own personal experience is that, on a couple of different levels, like I said, when I was in retail and, in my country town, 10, 12 businesses would get together. We'd all open up at night. We'd all put specials on and we'd get, share each other's email lists and post on each other's social and that sort of thing and create that event that was bigger than just one shop. So those events always work really well with retail. Probably in a service-based way, like some of my best friends, best online friends, and I call them online because I've met them during pandemics and haven't actually got to meet them face to face. They do what I do, but we get together, we share ideas, we talk about what's working, what's not working, what strategies they're putting in place, and we test and measure together and say, well, that didn't work. Well, that worked for me. Well, why did that work for you and not for me? And how did you do it? And that just really helps me as a coach and a mentor to go, okay, I've got all this information and it's not all mine, but it's been tested by other people that I trust that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. So rather than thinking these people are my competition, they become like, my best business buddies. And we all get in this thing together because the world is full of abundance. There is enough people for all of us. We don't need to be in competition with each other. And we see other people who, are in competition and believe they're in competition with us, and we just think, well, that's a little bit sad. I think that if you talk about collaborations over competition, it can work so much better for you. I guess if you have a look on social media and especially Instagram, you'll often see people sharing each other's posts and cheering each other on and things like that. An exact example doesn't come to my mind right now. I've got Red Bull in my head, but I can't remember who they did a collaboration with. It's completely gone off my head. But yeah, like there is a lot happening out there. Takeovers, they're quite popular, taking over someone's Instagram stories for the day and sharing what with their audience. I guess the best ones probably work when they've got the same audience as you, but they're not in direct competition with you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, amazing, Jenn. Thank you so much. And in the intro of your podcast, we'll put all the links and stuff for where people can find you. Is there anything else you wanted to share that we haven't covered in the questions?
No, not really. I guess the power of community is really huge. And, if you're not already building a community, and that doesn't have to be a Facebook group, I'm not saying everyone should rush out and start a Facebook group, but, if you're not creating that community, if your, DMs on Instagram are silent and people aren't messaging you or chatting with you or responding to your things, then that's probably a place for you to start focusing, is thinking, how can I build a community? How can I put a picket fence basically around my audience so that they learn to know, like, and love me, so that they will, maybe they'll never purchase from you, but maybe they'll be your best referrer. I follow this person, or I get this person's emails and I love them. Here you go. I think they'd be really suitable for you. Not everyone does have to be your buyer to still actually be a really valuable part of your community.
So true. You never know who's going to see it. Yeah, so true. Thanks so much, Jenn, for sharing so much wisdom and experience with us. I'd love to meet you in person today, because you're one of my COVID buddies as well that I've met online, only online. It's so funny. I feel like I've met you in person, but it's just been, over Zooms. But thank you for all that you do. It's incredible. And it's, I can 100% see you achieving your dreams without a doubt, because you're so driven and such a positive mindset that you'll just, you'll definitely reach it. So thank you. Thanks for your time today.
No, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been so good to chat to you again.
Thanks for listening to our Inspiring Humans podcast, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any inspiring human in mind that you would like to nominate, please reach out and let us know. Also, you're very welcome to become part of our Facebook group called Inspiring Humans, where you can connect with incredible people from around the globe. Thirdly, if you are interested in being part of a global network, we have an incredible community at 7continentscouncil.com, where we hold events, programs, and many different initiatives that you can be involved in. Thank you, and see you again soon.